2019, AEW beat NXT so badly in the ratings that they decided to pack their bags and move to Tuesday nights. But fast forward 5 years, and now NXT returned for 1 week only to Wednesday, and they beat AEW. Things have changed. Today we're going to get into why we think that is, and potentially the advantage NXT had over AEW. But that's not all we're going to be talking about, because we are also going to be talking about WWE ID, something I've not had much of a chance to talk about on this show yet. And in addition to that, Finn Balor is celebrating this week his decade in WWE, his 10-year anniversary, so we're going to be giving our thoughts on that as well. Plus, of course, talking tonight's episode of SmackDown. But for that, I need a great panel, and boy oh boy today, do I have one. Let's kick things off with the Tuesday Night Delight on a Friday night. How are you, Shad?
What's good, Ben? I am here, and it's only right that you have the Tuesday Night Delight here to, have our victory laps for what happened this Wednesday. I was the Wednesday Night Delight this past week. NXT, NXT, NXT.
Absolutely. The black and gold brand, or whatever it is now, white and gold. Or it's not even that now, is it? It's like gray and black. Brand is indeed in the driving
It's got a
seat.
newspaper look to it now.
I mean, I already gave my opinion on that logo, but also joining us tonight, also from the show on Tuesdays, but the one earlier in the day, the daily on Tuesdays, we have Jordy in the bank. How are you?
I am good, mate. I'm good. I'm finally starting to get over. I nearly coughed then as I was about to say it, but I'm finally starting to get over this cough. So I feel like I can talk a little bit more freely. And yeah, I always like being on the news shows because it's something a bit different for me. Like I'm always on a review show quite often, more often than not. If it's not Tuesday, it'll be a Saturday. So jumping on the Friday and talking about some news and just chopping it up with you guys, I always look forward to it. As long as Shad doesn't mute me, we're in the clear.
Oh, I wouldn't say that too fast, mind. He's got that power and he has done it right now. Shad has got his finger on the mute button all night long, Jordy, so be careful. No Liv Morgan or Rhea Ripley, hey.
No, yeah, we won't bring that up.
Jordy, how did you like Raw this past week, though?
Without Rhea.
Well, who cares?
But we got numero one Superfly in the comments. Shout out to him. And let's just dive headfirst into the ratings topic, right? Because a lot of people are asking why? What's changed in 5 years? And it's a complicated subject because a lot has changed on both sides. But I will say one thing specifically, right? And that is that one brand this past week, and of course being NXT, was main evented by a women's 5-on-5 tag match. Women's wrestling was featured heavily throughout the entirety of the 2 hours of the show. Meanwhile, on AEW, they only had 4 minutes of women's in-ring competition and just one backstage segment outside of that too. Perhaps AEW's lack of focus on their women's division is genuinely something which is taking viewers away from that product, because they've got a really talented women's division, but are they not utilizing it correctly? Meanwhile, NXT are. I mean, Shad, of course, we know you're a bit biased. You are the Tuesday Night Delight. You're working on a Wednesday this week. But putting that aside, what do you reckon this is? Why do you reckon this has happened again?
It's the identity. The identity of a television show matters when we talk about what draws viewers into continually watch it week by week. And NXT has implemented and molded an identity, what was once looked as, the development brand, and still has a bit of a nuance being a development brand, having a lot of young talent, but it's its own show. They're the cool kids. They're the more hip show, man. They got a focus on younger talent. I feel like the outreach makes people enjoy the product more because it's not, a bunch of old people that we see. Like, we're literally seeing young people blossom and grow into it, and they are able to reach and connect with a lot of fans that way. Obviously, I'm not talking about children, but I'm talking about the demographic, the people around, your age to my age, right? That demographic that is the 18 to the 30s and whatnot, and maybe a little bit older. It's a little bit more. It's got its own sense of identity in that way. But also, to your point, it's the one weekly television show where I feel like the parameters are free for everything. And when I mean that, I say you have an opportunity to not. When we talk about putting the best superstars in, we're not holding it down to just men, right? We're holding it down to just white men, right? We're holding it down to everybody. The best people that are talented get to showcase, whether you're a woman, whether you're a woman of color, whether you're a woman from international countries, whether you're a man of color or an international male, whether, like, it doesn't matter. They allow everybody to get time, and they allow everyone to shine, and there's nothing stopping that. And I think HBK has just a great vision of putting people in the best positions. Like, that's what a great head coach does. You get the players that are able to you cater to their strengths, and I think he caters to a lot of their strengths. And man, that point you made about the minutes, right, and what is showcased at the top of the card for the women's wrestling. Like, women's wrestling is a draw. It is the standpoint where you feel like I can only have one women's match on a show, or that's kind of like a quota. That's like utter BS, bro. Utter BS. Like, we saw this past week. We started the show with a women's match, street fight at that, right? We've grown so much throughout times where we're having a street fight, and then you're closing it with 10 phenomenal women. In regards to the ratings, though, I'll say that AEW does garner good ratings, but it's hard to compete with the WWE right now when we're talking about viewership. They're just really hot, and wrestling fans have gravitated back into it. This isn't the 2.0 NXT anymore. They've molded and found a good middle way, and it doesn't hurt when you make it a big time show tied to ECW at the ECW arena, right? And you're bringing a lot of
no doubt
back as well. Like, they're really good at packing shows and promoting also, Ben. Like, I think that's something that AEW does pretty bad. Promoting weekly shows, like, you won't even know what happens until a couple days when they put the graphic on Twitter, or like they announce it really fast and you don't get into it. Like, they got to do a better job promoting these shows, man. Like, their social media teams got to be a little bit more diligent. I don't know what it is, but like, they just got to gravitate people to want to watch it anymore. Because I'm not saying their product is bad. I love AEW. The funny thing is, my two favorite weekly shows probably are NXT and AEW Dynamite, right? And it's just hard for them to garner everybody to want to watch it because they don't promote it well enough, and they don't give a lot of the weekly shows enough time. A couple, banger matches doesn't cover grounds for a great show. So, yeah.
I mean, I think that does make a lot of sense, Shad. I really do. And I love the head coach analogy which you used. And that kind of does bring up a bigger point, perhaps another issue, which a lot of people are talking about with AEW, where, really good head coach knows when to delegate tasks, knows that, hey, I'm not able to put that much attention onto this specific thing, so I'll give it to somebody else. You guys know me, I'm a big Arsenal fan. Arsenal women are playing right now. Shout out to them. They're 3-0 up against Brighton, right? But Mikel Arteta, he knew when he came into Arsenal the first year, we were not scoring enough set pieces. So what did he do? He hired a set piece coach. He focused on what he was good at, and he brought somebody else to focus on what he wasn't too good at. And that way, we now score more set pieces than anybody else. Yeah. And I mean, we're one of the best teams in the league.
And how many leagues have you won?
Okay, Jordy. Okay. How many undefeated leagues have you won where you won it undefeated? None. 0, because there's only one team who ever has, Arsenal. But Jordy, do you think Tony Khan's lack of delegation is perhaps one of the reasons why they have fallen behind NXT in these ratings?
I think Shad is onto a lot of very, very true, very correct, very accurate statements in the way that NXT's defined itself and taken itself kind of away from what Raw and SmackDown is, and done it in a good way, and showcasing just a different product, not something that you're going to get on SmackDown, Raw, not something that you're going to get on AEW. Like you say, it's got its own identity, and that is important. Playing devil's advocate though, and I think exactly what you said, Shad, to do with this. This comes with marketing. This comes with seeing an opportunity where I think AEW would look at the opportunity. So they move to a Tuesday night for a one-off, and they're going head-to-head with NXT. I feel like at the minute they look at that with fear, not look at it with an opportunity. Whereas NXT saw that they were going over a Wednesday for 1 week and thought, right, how can we do something special? How can we do something different? Let's use it as an opportunity, not something that's going to hold us back for a week and just take the L. And a perfect way to do that with any wrestling fans is to say the 3 letters at ECW. And like RVD was kicking about, like Bully Ray. It's these little things that WWE do, and it's them kind of aces up the sleeve that they've got. It's, again, if you want to use a football analogy, it's squad depth in a sense. It's having these players on the bench that you can just bring out when you need to. They did it when they just played the Undertaker's gong at the end of an NXT advert, and everybody's just going to flock to watch it. They can advertise Randy Orton going on there, CM Punk, John Cena, and these things. AEW, they could put on the best show in the world, but they don't have that. They don't have that. And that comes with time. It doesn't come with, it's hard to compete. It's hard to compete when you're looking at, say, people who can bring out an Undertaker that has got a legacy that is undefined and will never be ever repeated. And AEW hasn't even been around for half the amount of time of Undertaker's career. So like it is difficult. But the question that I will ask you guys is, say AEW did go with the same kind of marketing and the same kind of opportunism, right? And they were moving to a Tuesday for one night, and they were like, right, let's get ECW Arena. Let's bring some ECW legends back in. Would they beat NXT's ratings, do you think? Or do you think the fact that it was heavily advertised and marketed with an ECW angle maybe helped get over the line? Or do you think just generally more people would tune into NXT rather than AEW Dynamite at this point?
Well, we kind of saw it a few weeks ago, of course, when, AEW did go to Tuesday and they got AEW went to Tuesday and they got obliterated. It was like almost half the size of NXT. I mean, perhaps there'd definitely be a boost. I'll agree with that. But the thing is, in 2019, like we were saying, AEW was winning, and they were winning quite dominantly. And WWE had all these advantages then. It was, in the eyes of many people, Black and Gold was the prime of NXT, which is why I can see the argument, but I honestly am not sure if I buy it. I've seen the other argument as well about the CW network is in more homes, which is true, but it's only 8% more homes. So that actually doesn't make up for the difference either. I mean,
nobody watches CW that much in the States, bro. It's attainable to get, but it's one of those just free channels that you just have. Like, it hasn't garnered as much. It's not like a Fox. It's not like an ABC. These aren't, NBC, CBS. This isn't a big time non-cable TV. I want to bring something up though, because I think I got numbers from something I saw online.
Oh,
and I think you might like this. This week, WWE NXT featured amount of minutes for women's wrestling, 29:41. 29 minutes 41 seconds. AEW Dynamite, 4 minutes 38 seconds. Guess how much it was? It was almost as much as the speed match between Candice LeRae and Io Sky.
It's not good, is it? Man, they were literally chanting women's wrestling. It was a chant. Goodness. They were chanting it. Like, if that isn't a sign, I don't know what is.
And I'll say this one thing, obviously, before we go to the next topic. We talked about it yesterday, me and Clark and Chaos on the Dynamite. And we all agreed to it. This past Wednesday was horrible for women's wrestling when you talk about time given, especially for the match that was booked. Because, like you said, Ben, that was a match that had a storyline to it, right? Penelope Ford, and Jamie Hayter, but that's Penelope Ford's return match after a few years. Like, that isn't fair. Like, how am I supposed to take her serious as a fan for the talent? I like her a lot. I think she is talented, but
how are you meant to take the women's division seriously, if I'm being completely blunt, when they're in the exact same time slot every single week for like 10 minutes or less? They were in the exact same slot on the show every single week, and they have been since 2019, right? It almost feels like, hey, this is the slot we need to give to the women's division. And that's disgusting. They have a phenomenal women's division. You should be like, hey, let's have them open the show. Let's have the main event some weeks. And Raw and SmackDown are just as bad at times too. But that 4 minutes is disgusting. NXT is the only show which is on an increase viewership wise at the minute, right? Not every week they're not, but the trend is a general increase. It's the only show that WWE or AEW have which is doing that. And guess which show in wrestling is showcasing women's wrestling the most? NXT.
Yeah. That's true, and that's not an AEW thing only. That is obviously the main roster, but
Raw, SmackDown too. It's
yeah.
And the thing is, as well, I've said this before. I'm the target audience, and I admittedly should watch more of both NXT and AEW Dynamite. And of the two right now, me being the target audience, NXT is the one that's making me go, hey, maybe I should tune into that a little bit more. And I think that's the biggest teller, because the people that are kind of not on the fence as much, just maybe, like I say, like, should probably watch it a bit more just to give the talent some more time, because sometimes you see someone come onto the main roster and you're like, who the hell's this? And everyone else knows who they are, and you feel like you're behind the curve a little bit. So yeah, there's something, but I will say there's been points throughout sort of the past couple of months where it's like, wow, like everybody's saying this match in AEW is incredible, this event was incredible, but then it doesn't stay consistent. It doesn't then the Dynamite after that isn't then great, and then I don't know. Consistency is the key to anything.
And yeah, really. I'm a bit of a critic to them at times as well, by AEW. But I will say this: I think their product is in a really good place right now. Specifically, Dynamite. It's just they're not showcasing the women's division enough. I think they have a large roster, so there's always something to complain about because they literally cannot utilize everybody. And all of that. It's
difficult. It's difficult for them to have multiple storylines that stay hot while booking it. They do a good job giving us they do a good job with a couple ones, and then everything else kind of falls flat due to that same reason.
I've realized, excluding Hangman and Swerve, which is the big exception to this rule, over the last 2 years, every storyline which has gone over 2 months, they've ended up shooting themselves in the foot with. They've somehow managed to massively mess it up, right? Whether that's Willow and Statlander, where you turn Statlander face immediately after, whether that's the Elite storyline where you chuck it out of the window, whether it's Adam Cole and MJF, where suddenly you're trying to make a heel turn feel like a face turn.
EVPs.
It's bad. It really, really is. But now let's talk about something which some people say is bad, some people say is good. But we're not even going to be talking about it today. We're going to be talking about the first prospects, they're called, not signings, to WWE ID, because we have 4 names which have come in, 5 names now, which have come in the past 24 hours, announced as to joining this new WWE, it's not a developmental brand, but basically they're signing independent talents, they're helping them out, giving them a little bit of advice. Surely there's going to be a catch or two in there. Probably can't work for AEW, Ring of Honor, or any of those promotions, but we'll have to wait and see as time goes on. But these 5 names are: firstly, Zayda Steele, the real deal. She debuted in 2022 and was the first announced prospect. Then we have Bryce Donovan, debuted in 2016, easily the most experienced so far out of these prospects. But also announced is Cold Brew Cappuccino Jones, who debuted only 2 years ago in 2022, but there's a lot of hype around him. But also announced today, we have Jack Cartwheel, former Ring of Honor star Cartwheel Jack Summit, will now go by, debuted in 2019. And in the last hour, we had a new signing, a new prospect, I shall say, as well. And that is the petite powerhouse, Zara Zaka, who debuted only 1 year ago in 2023, but somebody who I have been hearing a lot of good things about, specifically from David Sheldon, who will be having an article on Zara come out in the very near future, which was actually planned before this WWID thing even started. So it's just a complete coincidence she's now signed. And especially considering the point of the article was for more people to find out about her.
David knows ball.
he must do, or he's working for WWE, one or the other. But Shad, I want to get your perspective as the guy on Tuesday night. Do you think any of these could be coming over to Tuesday night in the near future?
Yeah, I think actually quite a few of them could be coming to Tuesday night. I think the ones that pop out name-wise are Jack Cartwheel. Like you said, he's been on Ring of Honor. He's wrestled a lot of notable names on GCW shows. PWG's, like a lot of shows out in the West Coast. He's a very fun professional wrestler, athletically gifted, definitely a different style of wrestler that I haven't really even seen right now in NXT. But think about him mixing it up with someone like a Wesley, a Javon Evans, and Nathan Frazier. I think that could be fun. And then the most recent one that you just mentioned, Zara, she might be a big time commodity because she just is coming off of a strong match with Masha Slamovich, who is our Impact Women's Champion. Also doing some work out in Tokyo Joshi Pro, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, that's what David also mentioned too. But I'm a homer, bro. I am a homer. And the two people that I'm going to give you that I think can get signed by NXT are the real deal Zeta Steel from the DMV. This is a young woman that I've been watching for the last couple years. She did some work in Marigold. She's very talented. She's got the character down pat. Like, she plays a very obnoxious heel, very conceited, very cocky. Has a mixture of a Tiffany Stratton personality and a Chelsea Green type of personality, right? Like, she has that kind of presence and is, relatively a good worker, still new, right? Still developing, but she fits like that NXT women's division like a glove to me. Like, I just think when you base off of her age, the talent all together, I think she could be a very good talent to have on NXT for years to come. The second person is Cappuccino, bro. Cappuccino Jones, someone that I'm not too familiar with, but I did my homework as soon as I heard it just because I thought the name was good. He's got it. He has got it. He has a presence. And if you know anything about professional wrestling, half of the fight is being able to work. The other half is a presence, his character, mic work, all of that. He has it. I saw the promo of him cutting, talking about his name. The caffeine running through him gets him going. And that presence is something that I think the NXT men's division is lacking. They are lacking stars, man. We need some guys that can come at the top of the division. I think just off of his, in-ring ability being really good, but also just having the character down and looking like he could be a star, I think those two are the ones I would be looking out for.
No doubt about it. Cold Brew Cappuccino. I mean, that's a hell of a name in itself.
Crazy. That name is so dope. Yeah.
It is.
It's so marketable. It's so marketable. The merch is so...
the thing that I'm talking about also, bro, like, he's an independent wrestler coming out with that name and all of that. He has to be quick-witted and he has to be brilliant to do that. And that's just on him. That's I've heard that name is better than names that I've seen WWE generate, which hasn't been a lot of great names. But
yeah, that's not a high bar. But you are
not high
right.
bar.
I mean, you said it best, Shard. Right? You heard his name and you thought, I want to lock this guy up. And there we are. You now know about him. And that's, it truly is great marketing from an independent competitor, no doubt about it, right? But talking about independent competitors, if you want to see a lot more independent competitors, you can see them right now, not in WWE ID, but on Demand Progress Plus. Demand Progress Plus is one of the biggest independent wrestling streaming platforms in the world now. It is the home of Progress Wrestling, one of my personal favorite promotions, along with Defy Wrestling, TNT Extreme Wrestling, and a lot more promotions around Europe. It is truly a fantastic streaming service. Super user friendly. Their latest event is on there now, which I'm going to be doing a video about early next week as well. But yeah, if you guys use code What's Progress 1, you can get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress Defy, and more. You support independent wrestling. There's, it's worth it. It absolutely is, right? I don't know how I can sell it any better than that. It is absolutely worth it. But now let's actually continue talking.
1 second, Ben.
What?
Because I gotta say this, y'all definitely gotta rock with them because I saw that they announced that Nina Samuels, friend of the show, versus Kanji.
Yep.
That's gonna be pretty crazy, man. We stand Nina Samuels over here at Wrestling Republic, by the way. Fan of the show, friend of the show.
We absolutely do, but I hate to be that guy, right? But I did call it that Kanji, her obsession with Kanji was going to cost her the Progress Women's Championship. I said it would happen on the show. She called me out for it in the interview, but did it or did it not happen? It kind of did. But you are right, Vendetta 2. We will be seeing later on this month in November, Kanji versus Nina Samuels. That is going to be a blast, no doubt about it. But now we're going to be moving on to the next topic, and let's talk about Finn Balor, who actually has had some matches in Progress Wrestling, right? So if you go to Demand Progress Plus, you can actually see some of his matches on there. So seriously, guys, another reason to get Demand Progress Plus. Watch Progress 1 to get 50% off your first month exclusively for Wrestling Republic's followers. But Finn Balor has now been in WWE for a decade, 10 whole years. He's just celebrated that anniversary, and wow, time has flown by. He came into the company, he felt like a big deal straight away, and he was established as one pretty much straight away. His early days in NXT, he felt like a main eventer, a future WrestleMania main eventer. He gets called up to the main roster in his debut match, earns an opportunity for the inaugural Universal Championship. Then comes SummerSlam, he faces Seth Rollins, somebody who thought was definitely going to win the match, and he didn't. Finn Balor did win the match. He became the first ever Universal Champion. He then got injured, and he's never actually reached that height again. And as a Finn Balor fan, it really frustrates me. But Jordy, I want to get your thoughts. What have been your opinions on Finn Balor's decade in the WWE?
I am a huge fan of Finn Balor from start to finish, from where he was back then. I think he'll always somewhat go down in history. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. He's a Grand Slam champion. The Demon is great. I think WWE have done a bad job of booking it. So I think we've seen the Demon lose too many times in recent years. I think is what I'm trying to say. But we can't hold Finn responsible for that. What he created within that character, I think it is phenomenal. And one thing I want to say as well is he seems to at the minute be getting, I don't know, a little bit of grief. I feel like he's getting a bit of a hard time from the online wrestling community. Maybe because the Judgment Day haven't done a great job of defending the tag team titles, whatever it may be. But I just think Finn is one of them people that you're gonna want on your team. You're gonna want on your roster. You throw Finn the ball at any point, he will catch it. I can't remember the last time I saw a bad Finn Balor match. I can't remember the last time I saw Finn stumble on the mic. Like, I honestly can't remember a time where I've seen him slip up. I think he's that consistently good that he slips into the background a little bit, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Someone that's like, in football senses, I guess, like an N'Golo Kante. You know what I mean? Somebody who will do whatever job you need that person to do. He can be a solid face. We're seeing right now, I guess I'll say a little bit disappointed because I genuinely, and I could still be wrong. I thought that after the Judgment Day had split up, in the sense that we knew them with Rhea, Damien, etc., we were going to see the best of Finn, and I don't think we've seen it yet. I kind of wanted him to become this big heel that genuinely takes control of the Judgment Day and is like, no, this isn't all of us anymore. This is me. Like, I run the show, and if you don't like it, get out. And it seems that like Raquel and Liv are running it at the minute, and I'm not a massive fan of that. But I wasn't a massive fan of how they were booking Damien with his briefcase, and he ended up cashing in at Mania and becoming a world champion. So I will hold my own hands up and say that they could be playing a long game with Finn. The best could still be yet to come. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure. But Finn's decade, he's been a Grand Slam champion. Yeah, the Universal Championship might not be for that long, but how can you look at somebody who's a Grand Slam champion and think that they haven't had a solid sort of 10-year run? And it's another person that I want to compare him to. But again, this person maybe gets a bit of negative press and maybe deserves it at this stage in his career. But he reminds me of a Chris Jericho in a sense of like, I don't think people realize how solid his run has been until maybe five years time, and you look back and you just look at how consistent he's always been throughout that time, and can probably go to another company and be just as consistent and win another load of championships. I just think he's that guy. I don't think he's a Roman Reigns, but I put him in that same kind of category as like an AJ Styles.
That is a heck of a statement as well. Big praise comparing him to AJ Styles there, and no doubt about it as well. You are right, he is a Grand Slam champion in WWE, and he's currently one half of the World Tag Team Champions. That's something it's easy to forget about, considering that's never defended. But before we move on to the next topic, the StreamYard comments hadn't updated on my end until right now, and I can see we've had a lot of comments since, so I'm going to quickly read them out. Chris Leclerc saying, happy birthday to Julia Hart. Shout out to her.
Nobody loves you when you're 23. Sorry.
Numero One Superfly says, well, both shows were great. I think NXT won thanks to three things: the legendary ECW arena, bringing ECW wrestlers back, and that main event. Absolutely. Saul says that he is done with listening to viewer tribalism. I don't think it's viewer tribalism. I think it is literal statistics, right? There's tribalism that doesn't relate to it at all. This is literal stats. It's statistics. DCX Warlord says, we finally got Zeta Steele a part of WWE ID. Shout out to her. But he also thinks Penelope Ford should be in WWE. Wow. Will Raleigh Sport can't believe there was only 4 minutes of women's wrestling. Neither can I. I mean, that is just insane over on AEW Dynamite this week. DCX Warlord says he thinks we are getting Adam Cole, Will Ospreay, Will Hobbs, Mark Davis, and Ricochet against MJF, Takeshita, Brian Cage, Carl Fletcher, and Lance Archer in Blood and Guts. Oh, yes, please. I'll have a slice of that one.
That would be great. I like that idea.
I'm down for it. Numero One says Jack Cartwheel has the potential to be a main event star. Wow, big praise. While Chris Leclerc says Roxanne Perez versus Zeta Steele at Stand at Deliver 2025. I mean, that's a big.
I don't know about main event star. That's a lot, but who knows? Crazier things have happened.
I'm hopeful, right? I've not seen much from the guy, but I'm backing the claim, right? Come on. Let's make him a main event star, numero one Superfly. But now let's move on to tonight's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Well, it's actually not crashed for once. I was expecting it to crash like it always does by the end of the show. My Chrome has not crashed. Tonight on SmackDown, two things have been announced. Sami Zayn will speak with Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso, and the Grayson Waller effect will have the Motor City Machine Guns on it. I mean, that's not too much to really dig our teeth into here. So, in fact, we are just going to talk about what is next for Cody Rhodes tonight. Because I myself have said that I want a 5-on-5 match at Survivor Series War Games. I want Cody teaming with the OG Bloodline to take on the new Bloodline with Hikuleo or just somebody else joining their faction, perhaps even Kevin Owens. I unfortunately don't think that's going to happen anymore, but that's what I want. But Jordy, what do you want?
I want, right, and I don't know when, and it's probably not going to happen now, but a lot of people are kind of pining and wanting this Cody heel turn, and I completely understand it, but I don't think it's going to happen yet. What I will say, though, and I said this in the chat, and I stand by it, if at any point we're going to make Cody Homelander, you are not going to find a better Billy Butcher than Kevin Owens. That's the thing. And I like the way that they're doing this feud. I like the way that, like, we don't know who's telling the truth at this point. Still, we still know very, very little. Something's been said. Something happened. Kevin feels betrayed. Him and Randy, it's more clear. He's annoyed that he sided with Cody. But what's he sided with Cody on? That's the question. Is Randy playing the puppet master? Is it all his idea to turn them against each other so he can get another shot at a world title? Because he keeps looking at it. He keeps giving it a very longing stare. So I don't know. It's the answer to the question. I don't know what's next for Cody Rhodes. But one thing I will say is a lot of people, myself included at points, especially when Cody just got thrown into a random match with Logan, was saying, I want Cody to be booked well. I want Cody to not just be constantly involved with the Bloodline storyline. I agree, Ben. A five person War Games would be great. I'm not disputing that, but they've done a great job of orchestrating a angle now that I'm really intrigued about with Cody. There's nothing to do with anything else. It's completely organic, a Cody storyline with Kevin, with Randy, and come from something, to be honest, that initial Cody and Kevin match did feel a bit throwaway, did feel a little bit filler, but now it doesn't look like it's going to be the case. So I'm all for it, but I have no idea what's next.
I would love that. I just think it's too early from their perspective to turn Cody Rhodes heel. I personally would love it. I absolutely would. I think, and I've said it before, a Cody heel turn where he thinks he's the face still, right? He just does more and more heelish things and he carries on doing all the celebrations, everything. He thinks he's the face, Homelander, like you said, and then Billy Butcher, to your point, you called it weeks ago, Kevin Owens. It is perfect, and I would love it. But Shad, what would you love for Cody Rhodes to do tonight on SmackDown?
I want to see the continuation that we're getting with him and KO. I think Kevin Owens is well deserved to be in a pivotal role in the WWE storyline wise, especially going for the main hardware, the main title, right? And I feel like he's just really elevated my interest in seeing Cody Rhodes just on TV, just being tied with KO. And that's not no knock on Cody. I think Cody is phenomenal. I think he's had a great reign. But I think Kevin Owens just adds what Cody's been missing, and that is a threat to him, a person that I can believe is, if KO is unhinged like he is, and if he has a purpose and he is going deranged and being a lunatic, then he may give me a reason to think like, he might take it to the limit and get the title, or at least give us a storyline worth something to sink our teeth in. Like, I just think KO is one of those talents that is underappreciated. Sometimes in his reign and tenure in WWE, underutilized, but now I feel like they're getting him back in position and we're viewing him in that main event light. And I think him and Cody are really having a great storyline. So I want to see some continuation of that. But I also wouldn't be upset if we get a build to a big time match at Survivor Series that isn't a elimination chamber match, and that is for Cody's title, because I think a triple threat match between Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and one Viper, Randy Orton, could be monumental and continue the storyline, obviously, between KO and Randy that never really got settled because of, how the match was set up at Crown Jewel, but also get us ready to get Randy kind of implemented with Cody and us getting that one-on-one match feud as well. I feel like when you have these three guys, it's filling a void of what's been lacking on SmackDown, and that is people that can make us want to see them in the main event picture. I feel like they're really strong in the mid-card picture. The LA Knights, the Carmelo Hayes, the Andrades, the Santos Escobar, but they haven't really had a lot of guys that are viable threats for Cody. When you got those two and you already have a streamlined storyline between all three of them in a sense, it could make sense. So I want us to get to the road to Survivor Series and build some traction. And I would like to see that be in a triple threat match for it.
That would be an absolute banger, no doubt about it. Plus with this dynamic too, right? Because we also don't, Randy Orton sided with Cody on this matter, but he's also, we've noticed his eyes. His eyes keep glaring at that championship. So is he siding with Cody or is he siding with
we talk about KO turning on people. Randy is the king of turning on people.
Yes.
we need that. We need that punt kick back. I need to see that punt kick back at some point.
We need a shaved head Randy back for sure. Shaved head 09 Randy was an absolute demon, yo.
Yeah, he was. It was scary, genuinely scary. It's an interesting situation between these three, and I just don't know which way it's going to go. Hopefully, in a way where they split the fans in a three-way fashion, so you've got people genuinely side with each one. One thing I will say though is I do wonder about this. I would love it if they bring KO's contract in a sense that. Imagine if it's like KO ends up filming something on social media and he says, I found out that Cody told them not to renew my contract, or Cody told them not to give me money. Do you know what I mean? And they actually bring in something as deep as that. And then it's like, we're like, no, Cody wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Would he?
If he's truthfully re-signed, I would play on that. Just how like MJF played on it for the longest time, right? I would play on it or like somehow make it like, he did something. I saw a tweet, right? He put LOL in a quote retweet about Cody Rhodes earlier. I want him to attack Cody Rhodes as being the diplomatic guy, the guy who, is clean cut, suits, does everything, kind of a kiss ass to the people type of situation. Yeah,
I would love it. Like if you find out, so KO's gone to speak to Triple H, and he's like, "Oh, like I'm just a bit shocked that you've not offered me a contract yet." And he's gone. Cody said you were exploring.
It would make sense.
You know what I mean? And
Triple H is tied to it.
By the way,
exactly.
Hang on a second, Cody. You can offer me a new deal.
Yeah, no, I was just something where he's had a meeting. And then it's like he and Triple H goes, hang on, like Cody said you weren't interested and you were exploring your options. And that's where Cody's like, he's played this middleman role and he's like, I don't know, just something where it paints, it could be Cody that's done something wrong, but the crowd don't know whether to or not, whether to side with him. And it almost comes into like conspiracy.
Cody said Cody said you had some old friends that were interested in you signing over there.
Yeah.
No. Do you know what they would be hilarious then is we find out. No. This needs to be what it is. Randy Orton is the one who's told Triple H that. And then as the weeks go by, we find out that it's Cody Rhodes who sent the text off Randy Orton's phone.
Yeah. I just want something.
But
I want something involved. No, but I agree. I agree that it it's something that it's actually Randy that said it and it's not Cody or like a
twist in the tail.
Yeah.
I hope they do something like that, but regardless, we're invested ahead of tonight's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Numero one says when Cody becomes a heel in the future, he should high five fans and kiss babies. But whenever Cody doesn't get what he wants, he kicks a fake, baby.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
you can't be doing that, numero one. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Shad. Thank you, Jordy. And we will see you guys same time, same place tomorrow to talk a little bit of Friday Night SmackDown. See you guys then. Peace.